Hi, this is Sheena Alexandra, and today we were with the Greenwave team having a fireside chat here with Jean Zaccore, co-founder and head of customer care. So Jean, I know you're responsible for customer inquiries, as they call. Can we talk a little bit about perhaps what kind of calls you get?
Well, we get calls every day, actually, and we get calls from people that have, or most cases, just looking into the categories of EMF, right, the subject of EMF. And most don't realize that there are four categories underneath the EMF that are really distinct. Four categories of electric pollution is what we call it. So I take them through a process of educating them of the four, because we are one piece of the solution, actually. And be happy to talk about all four if you'd like.
Yeah, well, how did people, understanding EMF, understanding dirty electricity, it's not something that you learn every single day.
Right.
How do people get to the point where they are contacting you?
That's a really good question. Wireless is abundant now in our homes, in our offices, and smartphones. And I think that what's happened is people are becoming aware that wireless probably isn't healthy, or at least there's a question mark around that. So they start doing research, and there's a lot of research out there, and it may be of various merits, if you will. But then they start learning more about the various categories of electric pollution. But they still think EMF is one thing, and if you just plug something in, you can take care of it. And that's not the case, right? The four categories are, wireless, which we typically term RF, measured with an RF meter. Dirty electricity, which is sort of it's EMI, electromagnetic interference, on the wire line, which you can measure with an oscilloscope or with our meter. The third category would be magnetic fields, which basically everything that's turned on in your home has a magnetic field. Your wiring has a magnetic field. You and I have a magnetic field. The Earth has a very slight one, actually, very hard to measure at least. And then there's electric fields, which are directly associated with the 50, 60 hertz signal. Those are all four distinct categories, and we are part of the solution on the one, dirty electricity. So I take them through that because most people are not aware of that.
So Kim, what is dirty electricity?
So dirty electricity is a particular type of EMF, and it's related to electricity, as its name sort of indicates. And the electricity that we have running in our grid and through our walls has certain basic characteristics. And I'm not going to get into all of the technicalities today, because I want to make this as simple as possible. But electricity comes in a particular way with certain characteristics. The problem is, starting in the 70s and then just growing really fast from there, many of our modern electrical devices and appliances, especially energy efficient things and all kinds of consumer electronics, don't use that electricity exactly as it comes. They have to basically take it, and they've got to change it in one way or another, and sometimes in more than one way, in order to operate. And so that process, having to kind of change electricity from the way that it comes to the form in which they need in order to operate, disrupts, that nice smooth flow of current. And it causes distortions in the pattern in which electricity is supposed to operate. And as a result, all these kind of microsurges and spikes of erratic energy get created, and then they basically catch a ride on the wiring with the regular electricity. So just regular electricity is supposed to be, now you have all this erratic, kind of what I'm going to call electrical trash or noise that rides along your wiring. It radiates out into the environment. It can travel throughout your house on the wiring, and actually it can travel to your neighbor's house, just as their dirty electricity can travel to your house via power lines and other paths. So once it's created, it's sort of ubiquitous and get everywhere, as well as just radiating off of the devices that create it. So that's a little bit about what dirty electricity is. And there's lots of different common sources. So, some of the big offenders are light dimmer switches, compact fluorescent light bulbs and other fluorescent lighting, LED light bulbs, all consumer electronics, variable speed systems like your furnaces and air conditioning systems, sometimes refrigerators.
Everything.
So you name it. There's a lot of things that create dirty electricity these days.
So tell us about the filter. What does the filter do with all of this pollution and spikes, and how does the filter fit in?
So Greenwave actually started when we're sort of branching out into offering solutions and information about all types of EMF, but we started in offering solutions for measuring and mitigating dirty electricity. So, and we develop a filter. And I could show, this is kind of our filter. It's simple. It just plugs into electrical outlets, and it helps to basically reduce the levels of spikes and surges that are traveling along the wiring in houses. The idea being that the less dirty electricity that you have traveling along your wiring, the less that you're going to have then radiating off of the wiring and into your living and work environments or play environments and other places where people stay. So, our filters are one, great way to help reduce dirty electricity levels, as well as there's other simple ways. I always suggest that people start by eliminating some of the obvious sources of dirty electricity in their house. So compact fluorescent light bulbs, I would swap those out with either old incandescent, light bulbs, or 120 volt halogen bulbs, and start with some simple steps like that to reduce your dirty electricity, and then start filtering what you're not able to get out, because we all still have devices that we're going to use in our house, that create dirty electricity. And, what we can't control as much is the amount of dirty electricity that we have coming into our homes that's created in our neighborhood, that just comes in on our power lines. So even if we're doing a great job to reduce what we create in our own homes, we're still getting dirty electricity oftentimes from our neighbors.
Now, Eduardo, can we just learn a little bit about your background? How did you become head of research and development at Greenwave?
Well, I met Rich some time ago, and we were talking about things, and he knew that I knew things. I'm interested in medicine, and I'm an electrical engineer, by the way, but I'm very holistic in terms of looking for peace of mind and working with electricity, with computers, with all the engineering aspects of data communications, which is what I work most. I always have concerns of when I'm in my working environment or things that is good, the light is good, data centers creates a lot of noise and things. So we always worry about it, and like a good lifestyle of diet and eating good. So all these things, when you're researching those aspects, they come together and say, well, now there is EMF and there is dirty electricity, and there are things that are not so good, and you probably don't feel them, but it's slowly causing you problems. Jean already talked, or other discussions you have had, all the wireless radiation, what it causes, what could be a problem, impacts on children, development tissue, and mature people or older people with the cellular activity is different. So there's a lot of things that are really unknown, because this is all very new technology, and we just use it, but we don't know it's how good is that, or how really we can have better use of that, because the technology is important. So, and the same token, so it's not only we understand where we're going and what it means for people that anecdotally can testify that they cannot go to places because of radiation or Wi-Fi or the lights in a mall, or things that pretty much there is no medical or science around that being studied deep enough to prove that is, but these people suffer from that, and those are the ones that are helping. We're helping, and through those research projects, we try to come up with better solutions for them.
So I've done research for about the last decade on technology and health. I've written a couple papers and looked at how technology can affect us. A lot of the electronics around us, our electrical environment, becomes really important. We see it as supporting our quest for Google and using the internet and communicating and texting, but at the same time, we are electrical creatures. We're living in an electrical environment. How does that work? I have one article coming up. It's called Get Wired. I mean, the best way to deliver internet is over wires, actually. It's not always convenient because we want to be untethered. There's times when you think about, well, we could do it with a wireless or we could do it with fiber optics. I mean, there's no question of fiber optics is more powerful. So as a country, we should be really going for fiber optics. We shouldn't be adding all this extra 5G to deliver high-speed TV. Because why? When we have this great, technology. Same thing in the home. Ethernet is a kind of a thing of the past, but Ethernet technology is safer, it's more secure, and there's less exposures to all these frequencies.